Summit of 2025 is taking place in Canada, and India has been a guest member. PM Modi has been part of these G7 summits since 2019. But this G7 summit is much speculated and awaited for many reasons. Hello everyone, welcome to Vajiram and Ravi's Simplified. My name is Shubhangi Singh, and today we will not be only talking about what is G7 and what is the importance of G7, but also why this particular G7 summit is being looked as the diplomatic reboot for India and Canada ties, and what lies on the table for the agenda in this particular year. So let us start with understanding that what exactly is G7. G7 is nothing but a forum of 8 most advanced countries. Now you might have a question in your mind that why it is called G7 when it has at present 8 countries, because EU, one of the member countries, is a non-enumerated member. Other than that, there are 7 countries. This particular forum was founded in 1975 and later Russia also joined it, but when Russia annexed Crimea, it was stood out. It was taken out of this particular forum. So as of now, we have 8 member countries in here. And the reason they are coming together every year is to address the global economic as well as geopolitical challenges that lie in front of the world, and especially these economies. The reason this forum becomes very important is that it is these 8 countries which control almost the 30% of GDP. In a way, you can say it is a forum of most rich and elite countries that we have in the global order. Now that we have established that what exactly G7 is, now let us look at this particular G7 summit 2025 that is taking place in Canada and what lies for India in this particular summit. Now, this time Canada's new PM Mark Carney has invited India, and that is why it is being looked as a diplomatic reboot, because recently India-Canada ties have been severed in last 2 years. So this is basically a signal for re-engagement after the strained ties that we have seen between the two countries since 2023. Apart from this, PM Modi will also be attending bilateral meeting, outreach sessions and other global deliberations. And other important agenda for in this particular forum, in this particular year, would be to address the issue of terrorism, which we have seen in the recent past in terms of the Pahalgam terror attack that took place in Kashmir in our country. Now, again, focusing on why this visit becomes very important and it is looked forward to in terms of our countries. Now, as I said, this is important for India-Canada relations. This is going to be the first high-level meeting since our ties have been severed post-2023, and it is Prime Minister Modi's first visit in a decade. Now, the ties were worsened over Hardeep Singh Nijjar's killing in 2023. There were multiple allegations from both sides, and Canada had linked Indian diplomats to this particular case, and India also retaliated by expelling the diplomats. But this all in past, and the new Prime Minister is trying to focus to mend the diplomatic relations and come up in better solutions so as to ensure that the trade, the economics, the people are not suffering because of such incidents that we see here on. Now, this reset which is expected in 2025, it started with the invitation itself, and this was considered as a diplomatic olive branch which was extended from this side of Canada through PM Carney's invitation. Now, both sides are already working. They are working to make sure that they have commissioners and diplomats, as well as they are working to resume dialogue and normalize the diplomatic relations that they have. Because if you will see, we will be talking about the trade relations and the way ahead as well. India and Canada, no matter what the diplomatic ties looked like in past 2 years, our economic dependence in terms of trade of goods and services has not moved much. So we have to acknowledge the economic importance herein of the relations and work accordingly. So this reset becomes important so as to ensure the economic output and growth we are expecting. But in generality, if we talk, there still lies the strategic importance for India in terms of G7 itself, because this works as a platform. Even when India is just a guest member as of now, it serves as a platform where India can voice its concerns regarding to terrorism, where it will be a platform to talk about the Pahalgam terror attack took place, the perpetrators behind it, the security, as well as South-South cooperation. Apart from that, it helps India in an opportunity to represent the global South. So we'll be discussing what exactly global South is. When we talk about the economies all across the world, they are broadly classified into two categories. The first category is the comparatively poor South, which is put in orange in here, and the other one is rich North. So this particular region is referred to as global South, which has been lagging behind in terms of economy, in terms of social parameters, and which need to be looked after. And India rises to the occasion as a representative of this section of the world, and G7 gives it the opportunity to represent the global South when we are talking about elite economies, because G7, as I said in the starting itself, it is a forum of elite economies only, but this is the place where we need to represent the developing and underdeveloped as well, so as to ensure that we are not living in a divided world where inequality is at rise. Other than that, it also enhances the India's global stature and the diplomatic leverage that India can use across the global order in terms of talking to elite economies, conducting outdoor sessions, bilateral meetings, etc. Now we have also established the significance of G7, not just this summit that is happening in Canada, but the G7 as a forum and where India goes in and guest member and what India gets out of it. Now let us talk about the key global agendas that will be taken up at this particular summit. So the topics and the agendas that are already in place, the first one being the conflicts across the globe that we are seeing, the ongoing and the new ones, be it Russia-Ukraine war, Iran-Israel tensions which are currently heightening, and the West Asia security. They will be also looking into the trade disruptions that are taking place and what recovery has been done in terms of the pandemic that we saw 5 years ago. Apart from that, tariffs would be also a discussion point. Reason being, the tariff and trade war just has begun last year once President Donald Trump stepped into his office. So these are the major agendas which will be taken up. Apart from that, financial stability with involvement of major economic institutions, be it World Bank, IMF and UN Plus, would be also on the table for discussion. So this highlights the overall agenda that lies for this forum summit, the agenda for India and the reset that we are going to expect in this particular financial year. Now let us look into India's role and what it would be bringing to table in this particular summit. India is going to try to leverage G7 so that it can highlight the regional stability and how it can be achieved. It will be also pushing for multipolarity, where we need to come together as a global order and support the economic reforms which are required to make sure that the developing and the underdeveloped world also gets opportunities to make sure that they are living better lives. Now let us understand the way ahead in terms of India and Canada relation. As I said, even after the strained diplomatic relation, our trades did not suffer in terms of goods. We saw $4.2 billion exports from India, and in terms of services, we saw $2.5 billion exports, and imports have been more than that. So that means our economic factor is weighing out that we need to consider in terms of Canada, and that is why it becomes important to make sure that we use this platform so as to ensure that we are getting economic collaboration, economic cooperation, and we are able to re-establish our relations with Canada. The future prospects from this particular summit would be to make sure that we are using this platform for economic collaboration, strategic tech partnership, as well as climate leadership. Now that we have covered all the important points for you so that you have a clear idea of the dimensions related to not just this G7 summit, but G7 across as a particular topic, I have a question for you. Why do you think such forums play an important role, especially for developing countries like India? Make sure you put down your answers in the comment section. If you have any doubts or concerns, you can put them also in the comment section. That was all from my side. Thank you so much.